have a fantastic final panel to wrap up the day for us. And they're going to be focused on sharing with us what motivates Hispanic donors. So you've heard some great philanthropic stories already this afternoon. You've heard how to engage the community. We're going to hear the really nitty-gritty nuts and bolts of what it takes to motivate Hispanic donors. As our moderator, I have Marina Jimenez. Joining her on the panel is Alicia Galarza. I'm saying that wrong, Alicia. Galarza, sorry. Roberto Hausman, and David Waldman. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Marina.
Thank you so much, Nancy. So delighted to be here. Thank you so much to the Foundation for Philanthropy for running this panel. And thank you for the microphone help. And we have 3 esteemed Hispanics that are, as Nancy said, going to get into the nitty-gritty of what motivates Hispanic donors. We have Roberto Hausman on my far right, who's the founder and director of the Canadian Law Enforcement Training College, as well as the founder of Hausman Youth Assistance Organization, which helps needy children. He's the recipient of many awards, including the top 25 Canadian immigrants. Beside him, we have Alicia Galarza. Hope I said that right. She's the founder of Conoser, which creates opportunities for academic achievement among Toronto's Spanish-speaking community. You've heard earlier in the day there's some challenges around that. And she's dedicated thousands of hours to advocating for change and creating opportunities for young Hispanics. And then on my right, we have David Waldman. And David Waldman works with TLN-TV, which I hope you're all familiar with, as a senior account executive. He's developed expertise in growing the market in Canada's Hispanic community. And he's also, prior to that, worked with Televisa and TV Azteca. So he has international broadcast experience, which is interesting. So today's panel is going to look at the question of what motivates Hispanic donors, how culture, religion, and language influence why people give and what causes they choose to give to. So I'm going to start by just asking everyone on the panel to comment briefly on our first question, which is, are all Hispanics motivated by the same thing? And we'll start with Roberto.
Are all Hispanics motivated by the same thing? Is that what you said?
When they donate.
No, I don't think so. But I guess I'll start with what motivates me, which is, I think, is the case of many, many people. I came to this country 40 years ago. In fact, this year is my 40th. And no, I did not come at age 5. And what motivates me is that in the first 3 months of arriving to Toronto, I went to an organization on Spadina College that helps new immigrants. So I walked in there and somebody saw me and says, "Kid, this is December 20-something. It's freezing. Would you like a winter coat, gloves, a scarf, and a pair of boots?" And I looked at this man and said, "For real? For free?" And he says, "Yeah, that's what we're here for, to help newcomers." And I could not believe it, because where I come from, if you don't work, you die. There is no welfare, no unemployment, no help. And I was fascinated. I said, "I can't believe this. What a country. What an amazing place." So at that day and that time, I said, God one day will help me enough for me to do exactly the same for other people. And that truly is 40 years ago what motivated me to, over the last 40 years, well, actually 30 officially as a charitable foundation, to literally give tens of thousands of items of brand new children clothing, food, toys, medicine, especially in Christmas time, but throughout the year. And I think that there is nothing more amazing than, like so many wonderful people said, than the feeling that you get when you give. Because I don't know about you, I believe in God very much, and I think that the way we are made is that when we give, number one, God will bless you, and number two, you feel great about a human being and making a difference, as my colleague was saying as well. So my focus actually is on children, because I have traveled to at least 20, 25 countries of the world, and I have been in places that you wouldn't want to go, and seen the incredible poverty where some children live. And I'm very, very touched when I see children in need, not just in my own country, but in many, many other countries, and I have lived and worked in at least 3 or 4 countries of the world. So when you go outside the tourist area in some of these countries and you see what the reality is, and the dirt floor and 5 people sleeping in one little room, and where 1 pair of running shoes is a big deal, and when 1 or 2 t-shirts is a big deal because that's all they have, you cannot help it but be really touched. And that's why my organization is called Needy Children Assistance. Because I don't know, parents are okay, but my heart goes for the children who are in desperate need of food, clothes, toys, books, and medicines, which is what I donate.
Okay, thank
so that's
you.
what motivated me, but I'm sure there's a lot of people
No,
in the
that's
same.
great. Roberto brought up some good themes there, a very poignant personal story, and also focused on youth. So now we'll move to Alicia.
What motivates Hispanics to make donations? Thank you very much for the question. And first of all, I'd like to thank Mauricio for this wonderful opportunity to be here in this philanthropic platform. And also, I feel very humbled to represent, through my volunteer work with Conoser Scholarship Fund Group, that helped to basically amplify the message, which is a 40% dropout of Hispanic youth. But here, I'm going to tell you about what motivates Hispanics. I think it's about the story, because the core value of the Hispanic culture is passion. Let me tell you, we are very passionate, and the way you tell the story, it will move the Hispanics. Remember, we are a diverse community, so it's not simple to target our community because we have many, many waves of Hispanics. From my personal experience, I've been fundraising since 2009, and I was successful in 2012. I knocked every single doors because I thought, wow, everybody will find Hispanics stories very moving, and they're gonna say, oh, Alicia, perfect. Nobody's doing the scholarship for the Hispanic youth that are at risk, which, by the way, is 40% dropout of Hispanic youth, and that affects directly to our community. But no, nobody listened to me at the beginning, but I start targeting the right market. The right market for me was the very well-established Latin Americans that arrived on the 70s. Most of they are very wealthy. They are very well established families here in Canada, and they help me a lot. So basically, the community, as I said, are diverse. So you have to know we come from different countries, 21 countries to be precise, and we are diverse. I am diverse within my own Ecuadorian community. So that's why it's very, very important for you to target the right market. It's about the story, it's about relationship, it's about many things. But when you target the right market, you will be successful.
Excellent. Sounds like you're saying market segmentation is what it's all about. Okay, David.
Okay, good afternoon to everybody. We are really happy to be here in this wonderful room, first of all, because I think from here it's gonna get a lot of interesting things. Now, I have been here for 11 years working on a TV station on Spanish normally. I heard Elvira saying before in the previous panel that when she arrived, listening to Spanish was really difficult. So I can say that what motivates the Spanish speakers here is like when we are on the street and we listen to Spanish, doesn't matter from where it comes. Let's say it doesn't matter if it's Argentinian, if it's Colombian, if it's Mexican. Here in Canada, there is a switch. All of us are brothers. And being brothers means that we help each other. But that's something that we have been founding, that the Latin community is helping. Community is helping community. The Latin people, they help their own. Doesn't matter if it's here or if it's in their own country. That's something that we at the TV station found, that we need to create those bridges to educate the Latin people to do the same thing that they do when they go to Ecuador. Venezuela, now let's say examples like Venezuela for Venezuelans, that they're helping the people in Venezuela from here to there. There is a market that we know. All the money transfers, all the people that they're working here are sending money to their own country. The Latin people they know how to give money. The only thing we have been finding here is that there is not a contact between the Canadian market and the Latin community. Let's say maybe they don't think to donate money to sick kids until they touch sick kids. We at TLN did a program a couple of maybe 1 or 2 years of 2 families, one Latin family and one Italian family, that they need to use sick kids. Now that they know what sick kids is for, now they're donating money for sick kids. They're not just thinking about giving money to their own countries. So I think that one of the things that we need to learn as people who are looking to fundraise money is to make that bridge that doesn't exist between the community. So at this point, and I can tell you that we as media can become that bridge. It's an easy way. We have been doing it when Chile had his earthquake, Mexico, things like that. So I think we need to create that, and I leave you with that comment.
Oh, that's excellent. That's kind of diving in a bit deeper into the market segmentation idea. We're going to stick with David for a second and go to our next question. As Alicia said, there's 21 different countries in Latin America, so we wanted to find out if you had any views on how do we differentiate between those countries and who, are they motivated differently by nationality?
Like I was saying before, here the first thing we do is we send money to our countries. I'm as Mexican will think about, okay, let me help the Mexican people. Argentinians are doing the same. There we have different groups that they're working. Even before, again, Elvira was talking about something that we call La Caravana de la Esperanza from Voces Latinas, a radio station. That is amazing. Amazing what you can see, how they send ambulance, trucks, money, food. It doesn't matter if the people come with $5, $10, $20, but at the end, you see a couple of vans going to Central America to help. The need exists, but going back, we need to do exactly the same for Canada, because here we have a lot of, Alicia just said it, 40% dropouts on the Latin community in school. This is going to bite us in the future to the Latin community in big time, because we are not looking for our own. There is another story. I think they're trying to build a senior house here in Toronto for Latin, and they're not finding the money to do it. So again, we need to create those bridges. We need to create that communication.
Okay, we'll just let Alicia jump in because we didn't really drill down on the question of whether Argentines give more than Venezuelans. It sounds like in David's opinion, nationality ceases to become important once they're in Canada. Let's see if Alicia agrees.
Well, I totally agree with you. We have to do something here. We have a problem, and as I said, every wave of immigrants have their own challenges as well as their own strengths. But I think it's very important to analyze why are we sending money or we are helping to Latin American countries. I think because it's, for example, $100 here doesn't make much difference. When I send $100 to Latin America, we can buy a cow for a family, we can feed a family for 1-2 weeks, and probably that's one of the reasons.
Okay, I think we're going to flip now to the next question, which is on religion, and it's good that
I was going to ask about the $100 for a cow. Which country is that?
It's in Africa, though, that one, but I'm just putting as an example.
Just kidding.
So Roberto mentioned earlier, and I'm glad that he mentioned it because it's one of the things we want to talk about, the role of faith for Roberto personally. So Roberto, do you want to comment more broadly if you find faith to be a motivator for Latinos?
Sure. Well, I personally think that without faith, we cannot do anything in life. And particularly when it comes to faith. The truth is, in my case, and I'm a teacher, so I have to show you one picture, and when I teach or do workshops or whatever, this poster, which is one of the, I don't know if you can all see it, but it says helping children around the world. And the truth is personally, when I help, I couldn't care less if the child is black, white, Chinese, or brown, and I don't care if they are Jewish, Muslim, Jehovah's Witness, or Hindu. I believe that we should help children all over the world. Now, interestingly enough, we have a small world right in the city of Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, today. And I was speaking about this with one of my colleagues, well, Dr. Haddad, actually. There is not another city in the world that has more of the world in one city, which is Toronto. Now, I help 16 different organizations in Toronto and 11 countries of the world. But the truth is, to me, it doesn't matter which faith or religion these people are in Toronto or overseas. And like another colleague said about, I think he was sitting here, about the Native Indians in Canada, where we think that the poverty is in Afghanistan, Iraq, or in China, or in Africa. There are places in Toronto, ladies and gentlemen, that you have never been to. And the reason I have been there is because 6 women's shelters is part of what we help every year. And there are places and conditions in the city of Toronto where people live that are so deplorable that if you saw it, you would just not believe it, that this is in the city of Toronto. So when it comes to faith, going to the subject of Marina, not to get off topic, it's okay, you can sit down. Unless you want to walk around, you know, with, as if it was being auction. It's not auction, okay, it's the only one. But I really believe that those of us who help, we have to have faith, and whether you believe in one God or another, or one creator or the other, personally I think there is only one, but whatever you call it. But certainly if we did not have this faith and believe that we can make a difference, regardless of the child's, in my case it's children because that's what we help the most. I don't care what the background religious-wise is of the child. The point is if they need help, and let's be specific, I'm talking about clothes, food, which is the basics, then we go to medicines, and then to toys and books. And in that order it is that we contribute.
Okay, thank you, Roberto.
So that's...
No, that's good. I mean, I guess what I was trying to get at, and maybe we're going to go to Alicia now, is this fundraising linked in any way to places of worship for Latinos?
There is a lot of places because we are organized. We have Hispanics in mining. We have Hispanic business, which showcase the best of the Hispanic professionals. We have, I don't know if you can help me, the Lamba, the Masters. So usually what's the other networking party? Yeah, Hispanic lawyers. So we have a lot of organizations that exactly that you can attend, and you can see for yourself that Hispanics are booming right now. We are making waves in the history of Canada. There is a lot of contributions that Hispanics are doing to this beautiful country.
Thank you, Alicia, and we'll just let David weigh in on that. Question of religion.
Okay, religion, we know that the Latin people are very religious. So when they are in, let's say, in a church, doesn't matter what religion, but let's say more Christian and Catholic, because the Latin community is mostly Christian and Catholic. When they are in their church and they ask for help, they get help, they give. They don't care at the end if they don't have enough money, but if it's for a good reason and the church is asking or the priest is asking, they're helping. So I think faith is very, very important, and it takes a lot of place here.
Okay, now I'd like to turn that question on its head, and we're going to go to Alicia, and we're going to talk about taboos or social norms. So in the Latino community, I think in general, it's a kind of a gross stereotype, but just for the sake of conversation, people may have more conservative social mores along with their faith. And so how do charities deal with some of those more sensitive issues?
I think approaching Hispanics with very sensitive topic, it's very, very complex, because you don't want to create a culture shock. So basically, I really suggest to do a lot of research about what Hispanics need to know. I think it's very important to spread the message in the correct group. For example, 300 flyers in any street don't do anything. If you spread the message with 10 lesbian or 10 gays, that probably will have a big, big value. So for me, it's very important to market, again, the segment, because you don't want to cause any cultural shock. In Latin America, we still have a lot of problems accepting homosexuality. Sometimes we see that homophobia experienced in some Latin American countries is still violent and sometimes deadly. So that's one of the reasons homosexuals come to Canada.
So that's what would be one of the sensitive areas, and I imagine there's others. Does anyone else on the panel want to weigh in? David?
It's very important, something that you need to have in mind, talking about language. Even we speak the same language, all the Spanish speakers, that's why I'm saying the same. We have a lot of different meanings in a lot of words. So it's very funny. If I use, I'm gonna say something very funny. In Mexico, if I say, if I wanna say to a girl, you are beautiful, I can say, in Spanish, I'm gonna say, you are like a jacket, like a leather jacket. I'm translating. You are a cuero. But if I use the same word, cuero is really just the skin of the cow. And if I use that in Mexico, the girl will be, wow, I'm happy. But if I go to Costa Rica and I use the same word, cuero, she will slap me and send me straight you know where. And why? Because the meaning of the words, we use the same language, but we have different meanings. You can ask a Cuban girl if she will say fruit. If she will ask her about we have a fruit, how you call papaya here? Papaya, no? Okay. If I call papaya is a fruit in other countries, and in Cuba it's not. I won't say what it is. You can ask the Cuban girls.
Okay, that's a very entertaining way of saying you better watch your language. So Roberto, do you want to add in any other thoughts, or would you like to move to the next question?
I would like to move to the next question. Remember, I'm a teacher.
Well,
I could talk about that for an hour.
Yeah, we don't want to get too, we want to stay on topic here. So the next thought we were going to move to is, and maybe this is the perfect person to answer it, is Roberto, what is your charity doing that works, so that is a takeaway for other charitable organizations?
Well, I guess what works is giving. That works because the need is there, and when you see the faces, let me use one example. One of the places that we help is 6 women's shelters, and especially in Christmas. And last Christmas, I had the privilege to physically and personally, besides packing, wrapping, distributing, sorting, and preparing the things, is to physically deliver to a women's shelter. And some women's shelter you wouldn't even know they exist because they are very, very, how should I say, secret where they are. And I had actually 2 female police officers in a car and 2 vans. So we delivered 3 truckloads, basically, of mostly food, toys, brand new children clothing. And when we went to this women's shelter, right in the city of Toronto, by the way, and we saw the faces of those women with the kids, and if you, ladies especially, but men as well, I think you know that the people that live in a women's shelter for 3 to 6 months are women that have been abused physically, sexually, or both. And when we are the only ones who arrive, we're giving a Christmas present and some Christmas food and some goods. And you see the single moms or the moms' faces with tears in their eyes saying, thank you. If it wasn't for you, my children would not have a Christmas present. And I think that the feeling you get when you hear that and that you have made a difference, it's extremely touching. And this happens with me, every single year for the last 20 years. But every year is different, and it's wonderful because you always see different people. So the fact of giving and why it's received and how it's received and where it's received it's extremely rewarding in the sense that you make a difference. And I believe that that's what we are here for, that when we die, we'll take absolutely nothing with us. So my philosophy is whatever I can give and God blesses me to give, to get, I'll give it away because I'll take absolutely nothing with me. And the only thing left after we're gone, after we kick the bucket, is that what did you do that made a difference? What is it that you really did that made a difference? How will people remember you by? By what you took or by what you gave?
That's a great answer, and I think it gets to the heart of a few other themes that have been mentioned, which is storytelling and passion for Latins seems to be motivators, along with perhaps religion. And now, I don't know if Alicia or David would like to weigh in on what works to reach out to Hispanics, and perhaps also what doesn't work.
Okay. Like I said, what works, you need to get through the skin to the heart. That's, I think, the most important thing. You need to get there. You need to show them that you care, that it's not just because what is not working, we are not getting to that people. Why? I don't know. Maybe we need a marketing campaign, we need the right media, I don't know. There is something that we are not getting. Maybe it's a different approach. Like I said, Princess Margaret, the different hospitals, they do a lot of fundraising through tickets. Maybe that's not the way. We need to approach the Latin community maybe in a different way. Going back, they're sending, but they're not, it's not staying also here. Maybe we can do both, sending home and living here. Until they don't feel it and they don't need it, they don't understand. Going back to the story that I said before about these two families that they got touched by sick kids. I think that's the most important. Maybe nobody is approaching to those people on the right way.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Mauricio, did you want to jump in with a question or a comment?
A comment, actually, if I may. I agree with what is being said. At the same time, I have already witnessed people making those contributions domestically as well. So perhaps certain segments have not been able to do it, but others are effectively and regularly doing it.
So the question would be how have those people been reached? And I think Alicia was saying earlier that it depends on the wave that you're approaching, and obviously the wave that has deeper pockets would be the people who've been here longer or who came later with more education. But I would like to just suggest one other, or throw this out here. What about this idea of creating the community so that the donors might come forward the first time to an event that's maybe free, but they buy into your cause, and then the next time you make the ask. So it's sort of a slower, more long-term process. I don't know if that rings a bell for anyone.
Well, I would say that a charity that works well with minorities knows the culture. For me, it's extremely, extremely, extremely important to understand the culture because Hispanics, for example, we are connected between networks of friends and family. So when it comes to donations, we always rely on families. My personal experience, if I have to make a big decision, I have to go on my mom or my father, and we are very loyal, by the way. As soon as we have trust in that organization, we will be loyal, and it's like a legacy. If my father is donating to the Heart Foundation, I will do until the end.
That's interesting. Roberto, did you want to weigh in on? You're good? Okay. I wanted to ask David now about second and third generation Hispanics and how things change as people have been here longer, and even people who are born here but have of Hispanic origin, if the approach must again be slightly different.
Okay, this is like it's gonna be like a personal story. Like I arrived in Canada 11 years ago, 3 kids from Mexico, different way of thinking, and suddenly I start looking at my house, especially with my daughter, that she's in everything now. Like the Canadian way is getting to the kids in a different way. They wanna be volunteering, they wanna fundraising. She's like, and I'm using her as an example because for me it's very impressive that if I was living in Mexico, that will never be on her mind. She will be thinking about boys, going out, having parties. I'm not saying that she's not doing that here, but also It's like, Dad, when is Smiles of Innocence? I want to volunteer. When is Salsa on St. Clair? I want to be there. But not because of the fun part of being there, because she wants to help. She's now in grade 12, and she's helping already in Mount Sinai Hospital. She works I don't know how many hours. And sometimes I come to her and tell her, Sharon, stop. You need to relax. School, boys, volunteering. Stop. You need to sleep a little bit. But what I'm saying is, the new generations here, I think they're getting a different approach. They're not losing their roots from where they come from. Because in my personal case, I don't speak to them in English. In my house, they know that I will speak to them in Spanish. And I'm really, really happy that I did, because when I brought my little one, 3 years old, he switched his mother tongue. Now he thinks in English. That's a problem for me, because we have a conflict. I think like completely Latin. He doesn't. But at least he speaks perfectly the Spanish, and he's also getting into these things. I think it will be easier for the next generations to understand the fundraising, the helping, but helping here, because I'm going to say something. My 3 kids, they know they're Mexicans, but for them it's fun to say they're Mexicans. Boy, they feel Canadian.
That's fascinating. I don't know if Roberto, as somebody who's been here for 40 years and has kids, has anything to add to that.
Well, as a matter of fact, I have 3 as well. And at home we speak only Spanish, by the way, as well. And it's very, very similar in the sense that my kids are the most incredibly willing to volunteer at all times in almost anything. And it's fascinating to watch them, because they will help any good cause that they are asked to help. They never say no. And to have the new generation, as you call it, see them engaged in this kind of thing, it's quite amazing. And one thing that I taught my kids, and I think you probably know this, is that there is 3 kinds of people in the world. The number 1 kind or type of people is the ones that make things happen, which is like your kids and I guess mine. Then the second type of people is the ones that let things happen to them. And the third kind of people is the one that says, what the heck happened? So it's better that I mean, those of us who help and give, we are in the group number 1, and we help our kids be in group number 1, because it makes a difference. Now, how many more questions do you have? Because I wanted to just mention something. How many more questions do you have?
Go ahead. I think after Roberto has his final comment, we'll probably go to questions from the audience. So while Roberto's, so you can be thinking about questions.
I don't know about you, but I am a great admirer of Mother Teresa. And there is a saying that Mother Teresa had, which I'm going to show it to you in a poster, but I have a saying that is parallel, which I never knew that she had a similar saying. Mine is, inch by inch, life is a cinch. By the yard, it is hard. Meaning that you cannot help everybody in the world. You cannot give to everybody in the world. I cannot give to every women's shelter in Toronto, in Ontario, but I can do my part. And if everybody did their part, the world would be a much, much, much better place. And I think you all have seen the movie, how is it called? Play It Forward, I think it's called. Yeah, Pay It Forward. So if everybody did a little good, and that's contagious, and it kept going and going and going, the world would be a much, much better place. So this year, and I'm getting the help of my kids as well, because we're going to feed a lot of homeless kids. Now we did something. We parked the van in Queen and Jarvis about 3 years ago in Christmas, and we filled it up with sandwiches, hot chocolate, and cake and stuff. Just you opened it, and we said free. So we had a lineup of poor people in the Queen and Jarvis. They're mostly homeless, but some kids. And I was so touched by that I said, you know, this year, 2014, I'm going to do something a little bit crazy, which is, aside from the 5,000 items we donate every single year of brand new children clothes, food, toys, etc., we're going to feed 1,000 homeless kids in the city of Toronto. So we came up with this, and I had to show you this because a picture tells 1,000 words. So like the Chinese say, a drop of ink lasts longer than 1,000 words. So we came up with this crazy idea, which is 1,000 meals for 1,000 kids. And this is talking about 1,000 homeless kids, which, believe it or not, there is actually a lot more than 1,000 in the city of Toronto as we speak. And some of them are 16, 17-year-olds who sleep on a sleeping bag in Blue and Young with their pimp next to them. But they are still children. So our biggest project, I think, in quantity, because you can tell me, well, I'm going to help 10, 20 kids or 30 or 40 kids. Well, we came up with this crazy number, 1,000 meals for 1,000 kids. Now, that might not feed the 10 or 20,000 that are homeless. But if each one of us contributed and say, okay, I'm going to feed 1,000, maybe you can feed 20 or 30. So inch by inch, life is a cinch. By the yard, it is hard. So this is the project that we as a charity and as a Hispanic came up with. And I don't care if the kids are Hispanic. In fact, thanks God, most of those homeless kids, I don't think they are Hispanic. But I don't care. They are homeless. And it's Christmas. And while we all, dance and sing and eat and get gifts, these people would be super happy with a beautiful meal and a Christmas gift.
That's a lovely anecdote. Thank you so much, Roberto. And I love the fact that it obviously the charity goes way beyond the ethnic grouping. So I'm going to open it up to questions now, and you can either direct your question at one of our panelists, or just throw it open. So does anyone in the audience want to put their hand up and ask a question?
White shirt.
My name is Carmen Llanos, Metropolitan Relief Church of Toronto, and we've been talking about the homophobia, and we also talked during today about people moving here and switching and going from not understanding volunteering to giving. So do you think there's hope in tapping into Hispanics for fundraising for LGBT communities and Christian communities here in Canada?
Absolutely. I believe that there is hope. And one of the reasons they come to Canada is escaping from the homophobic, right? And I think, of course, it's hope.
So we're looking for the non-LGBT Hispanics here to tap into them and say, there's LGBT Christians or LGBT Hispanics here. Would you like to help them?
Yeah, there's actually some Hispanic lawyers that work specifically with Mexicans that seek refugee status on the basis of sexual orientation. So that might be one way to tap into that community. And there's obviously some wealth there if if there's lawyers. Excellent question. Would anybody else, I think I saw a hand at the back, I'm not sure.
I'm curious about something that we haven't, I don't think in the 2 sessions that I've attended, I've heard anyone mention, and it's recognition to the donors. Is there any, can I have your insights? Is there any particular way in which your donors, particularly those coming from the Hispanic community, want to be recognized? Do they want to be recognized, or do they need?
David, do you have any thoughts on that? Because that's actually a very important point with building the long-term relationship.
Let me tell you, normally I can say that in our experience when we do something like TLN Care or things like that, the donors, they don't want to be like on top. The important thing is the charity. The important thing is where the money goes. Let's say I'm going to use David Waldman just donate whatever. It doesn't matter who donated. The important thing is put the money where it has to go. Let's say I'm going to use again the Father Estudillo, using as an example. It's not him who's in top. It's La Caravana de la Esperanza. Or when we speak about other charities, we have here Francisco Garzón with his charity from Drawing Alegría. It's not Francisco Garzón, it's Drawing Alegría. So it's the same. The people who are doing it to put money, it's not their name that it's important. The donors are the same. They don't need, that's what we have been looking when we tape or we talk about them to do something on TV. No, don't put me, I don't care.
What about, I'll just follow up and then I'll go to Nancy. What about, drawing people in by putting them on a board, which is a common way to get people to donate, is by including them in your organization. And perhaps that's one other way in.
I didn't understand the question.
Asking Hispanics to sit on your board and then hoping that they will, through their participation, tap into their own community.
I think you're asking the wrong person here. I have a board of 5. I don't have a single Hispanic.
You are.
Well, I guess I'm the only one, but it's not that I didn't ask. Just like it's not that I didn't ask the community to help with my thing, but I think Hispanics, I have probably 1% that help.
So my question is back to David, really about the recognition that many of you could maybe answer as well. We've seen in many communities that people didn't want recognition, but as charities, we worked hard to encourage people to share their name as a way of demonstrating within the community that they are supporting it. given some of the stories that we've heard about engaging the Hispanic community, do you think that there is value in saying to somebody that's from the Hispanic community, we want to use your name, and this is why, because we want other people from the community to see that you're taking a leadership role in giving and using recognition sort of to help drive that message?
Okay, recognition, let's say marketing-wise, recognition is always good. It's like you are putting a last name to what are you doing. Let's say maybe those are leaders that you can tell them, okay, let's forget about charity, let's use advertising and let's use marketing. If I said Donald Trump is giving money, you will have followers. If he's doing it, I will do it. If we do it in the Spanish community, I don't know. If we found, I don't want to start putting names here because I will get into trouble, in a lot of trouble, because we know that the Spanish, we're very jealous about our people. So, but it can work. It's like, I don't know, if I use a name of a lawyer, Carranza. If Carranza does something, maybe the other lawyers or the group of people who is around, they will follow him. Could be an interesting way of trying to target all the Spanish people so they can follow. Alicia?
Now that you mention big name Carranza lawyers, I understand that he made a big donation, over $1 million. And the thing is, Hispanics, we don't look for recognition. We see the cause as a vehicle to help or to change something.
I should call Carranza. I never heard of a Hispanic making $1 million donation. I have asked for 100 and I didn't get it.
I do believe that there is a fine line and a difference between the sponsorship and the philanthropy. That's the reason why when somebody is donating out of their heart because they believe in the cause, and that becomes and not seeking any recognition. When somebody is requiring certain recognition in any level, that becomes a sponsorship. There is nothing wrong with it, but there's a different purposes and serves both, and it's not only giving. And that's why it's part of, like, when you start mixing the marketing and mixing that part, it becomes a different thing. It stops being a philanthropy.
Well, thank you. That's a very good distinction. I was just wondering if, I mean, sometimes you go to fundraisers and it's a lot of old Toronto elites, which because of their nature might be WASP elites. So that's why I was wondering if by getting Hispanics to sit on boards, perhaps that's a way to make them feel included in the intelligentsia and the old elites of Toronto. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if anyone in the audience has thought about that or anyone on the panel.
You mentioned a little bit ago that you were knocking doors since 2009 and a door finally opened in 2012. What happened?
What happened in 2012, I hit the very well-established market. Most of them, they were Ecuadorians. They arrived on the 70s. Most of them, they didn't have the education. Like, I'm comparing with the newcomers, right? Because the newcomers now, they bring master degrees. Sometimes they bring a lot of money, they're wealthy, they sell everything in their countries, and they come here. And something very important also is they do the research in their own countries before they arrive. So there is a lot of things that you have to learn from the Hispanic waves. There are 5 Hispanic immigrants, and you have to learn every single one what they moved to them. So when I approached the Hispanics in my community, they opened the door for me. They said, wow, you know, I feel very, very moved by your organization. And I'm gonna donate. I'm gonna send you to another person that probably they will donate. So that's the way I raised $2,500. And I was able to match that amount with York University Foundation. So now we have an endowment fund, and this is the first endowment fund, the first scholarship for Hispanic youth through the York University.
Wonderful.
So that was my personal story.
Okay, that's a great way to end on a high. So I just want to thank all our panelists, Roberto, Alicia, and David, and I want to thank Mauricio and Nancy and Krishan and the Foundation for Philanthropy. This was a great session. Thank you.